Good morning, good evening, good whatever time it is you're watching this. I'm Dave with Cups and Handles, and in this quick market recap, we're going to break down today's SPY price action, identify the key technical levels that matter, and discuss what I'm anticipating for the next trading session. We only have a few minutes, so let's jump right into the charts. Hey everybody, welcome to today's market recap. So we had the CPI come in very cool today. We had the month over month for June come in at a negative 0.4%. The forecast had it at a negative 0.1%, so this was a very cool print. The core CPI month over month came in at 0%. The forecast was at a 0.2%, so that's extremely cool. The CPI year over year came in at 3.5%. The forecast had us at a 3.8%. The previous reading was at a 4.2%, so this was a very large decrease in the year over year. And the core CPI was at a 2.6%. The forecast had it at a 2.8%, and the previous was at a 2.9%. So that is a very cool reading. Now, getting into tomorrow, and because of that cooler CPI, we had a very large buying candle in the pre-market. And overall, this kind of set the day to be bullish. We talked about this yesterday, how either we were going to see this head and shoulders start to break down, pull down towards either that, I think we had it at the 743, 745, or we were going to see the CPI come in cooler and form this cup. Okay, now let's get into some of what happened today. We had a little bit of selling earlier on in the trading session after the major pull down. Very likely that was due to liquidity, but we also had the put wall at 749 and we had the call wall and max pain at 750. So either the market was going to try to close in between those levels or try to push below the put wall or above the call wall and max pain because they want to lessen the blow on having to exercise contracts. Well, as we saw, we had buying to the upside. We had a little bit of a downturn, but that hit the 750 almost on the dot and started buying to the upside. So what can we expect from here? Well, taking a look at the technicals, we go to the daily time frame and we turn off our drawings and we check our moving averages and Bollinger Bands. So we talked about yesterday how the daily the 5-day moving average would be very close to that 750, 749 range. With the buying we saw today, it did pull up to that 750.61. With the close being at that 751.83, that should give us the 5-day moving average pulling upward towards that 750.80 or even potentially the 751 itself. Okay, which is overall bullish. Now, the thing that is not bullish is that we haven't fully broken from that daily 5-mile range. Okay, and because we haven't fully broken out of that daily 5-mile range, that means currently, as of making this video, we're still within that 5-mile, which means that we still can pull down and start testing some of these lower moving averages. However, based on the structure, which I'll get into in just a few minutes, we have a lot of bullish potential to start pushing upward towards this upper Bollinger. Now, the upper Bollinger is currently located at the 759.28, and the previous all-time high is at the 758.45. So if we're going to be pushing into the upper Bollinger, we should be fully expecting a push towards the all-time highs to secure that 760, 762 range. Now getting back into the structure, and I want to look at the 30-minute time frame here, so let's go ahead and turn off the Bollingers as well. We talked about yesterday, and we're going to turn on the drawings again, but we talked about yesterday how we had this very well-defined cup. And let's fix the template. Very well-defined cup, and at the top of a cup, we always expect bearish structure, okay, so that we can get that liquidity to the downside, create that handle, and if we're going to see the breakout, we were wanting to see something like this today. We were wanting to see that pull upward. Now I know this doesn't look exactly like a cup and handle. I didn't draw it perfectly, but this is that handle on that cup starting to form. And one thing that I'm looking at moving into tomorrow is that we did form an additional cup today. Okay, we form this small cup right here, which is at the top of that previous Head and Shoulders right shoulder. Okay, so the high of the day was the 753.34. However, in the pre-market, we did hit the 754. Okay, so we did clear that right shoulder. We did create the liquidity necessary to create that cup. And from this cup, what we are expecting is a handle to the upside. Okay, now with the CPI coming in very cool, that means that we should be expecting the PPI data tomorrow to come in fairly cool. And if that turns out to be true, then our expectation should be to start pushing that handle on that cup upward. Okay, now our target from here is going to basically be that all-time highs because we don't have any supports above us. We don't have anything to really target other than some of these previous resistance ranges. So the first target would be the 755.66 at the top of that head and shoulders. We would want to clear that because what that would do is multiple different things. One, that would invalidate the bearish structure. Two, that would give us further bullish structure to start pushing upward. Okay, if we do clear the 755.66, that will also create a cup, and from that cup, we will expect a very small handle, kind of the same as always. Expect a small handle, and from that handle, we should be expecting additional liquidity to clear that all-time high. Now, whether this all occurs tomorrow, we'll have to see. It really depends on how cool or hot the PPI comes in. And again, if the PPI does come in hot, we do have some potentially bearish structure here, even though we do have this cup built and we are expecting a handle. If the PPI comes in hot for some reason, then this absolutely can turn into a head and shoulders and pull us downward. Now, our downward target would be a lot less than what it was yesterday. Trading is a skill that can last for a lifetime. Join my Patreon for live classes, my personal market analysis, premium Discord access, and direct communication with me. Invest in yourself, become a more consistent trader, and build a better future for yourself and your family. Visit patreon.com/wooksy to join today. Thank you so much, and let's return back to the video. Which means we would have to start targeting some of these bottom supports. So we have a very strong support at this 747. We have a very strong support at this 746.23. So I would want to see those two ranges cleared first if we're going to be seeing downside. Start seeing a right shoulder building on this head and shoulders. And then within the following days, we could then start to assume that we can pull down from there. Okay, but based on the CPI today, based on the structure that we do have, which is extremely bullish, especially if we go to the hourly time frame, this is a very, very strong structure getting ready to push to the upside. That's what my expectation is anyway. Unless, again, if we have the PPI come in cooler, then this will be dismantled a little bit. But I'm not expecting that. Or I mean, if the PPI comes in hotter, excuse me. But I'm not expecting that. I am expecting the PPI to kind of follow suit of the CPI because that's generally what happens. They're kind of very heavily correlated reports. So with the CPI coming in very, very, very cool today, we should be expecting that very, very cool print out of the PPI tomorrow. Which also means another thing is that the thesis right now, or has been over the last few months, that we are going to be experiencing rate hikes. Okay, now I've been talking about this for quite a while. I don't think that's going to be the case. I thought that potentially we might see a single rate hike just because of the oil inflation, but I'm not expecting that anymore. With the CPI coming in very, very cool, and if we see the PPI follow suit, and if we see the PMI later this month also follow suit, then that's leading a lot more towards just continued pausing. Okay, now we did talk about the Fed meeting minutes, how there's kind of two different camps within the Fed right now, where one camp wants to stick with the pauses and wait out the inflation, while another camp really wants to start rate hiking. I think that camp's going to start getting a lot weaker And we're going to start seeing a lot more Fed members sitting in that same position of we just need to sit here and pause until we figure out what's going on, whether we're truly seeing inflation picking up or if we're actually seeing inflation being defeated. So with that said, um, we will get the call wall and put wall updated for tomorrow. But with today, this was very reasonable price action to see these ranges rejected and pushed above. Technically, we are above the daily 5 mile, even though we are within the upper bounds of that level. Now, we talked about that yesterday, where when we expect a 5 mile test, we expect the lower bounds to be tested and the upper bounds. We have now done both of that. So that means that if we're going to have a really hard push to the upside, we technically have all the liquidity for it, we have all the technicals for it, and if the data comes out in our favor tomorrow, then the data will be supportive of that as well. So overall, tomorrow should be a bullish day. We should at least be targeting that 755.66, and again, unless the data um, goes against us for some reason, but I don't think that's going to be the case. And from that 755.66, we might have a small push above it, build some bearish structure, create a handle downward, and then pull back up to the 758, potentially all, to new all-time highs. Um, this can happen over the next few days. This can happen all tomorrow. We just have to, see how it plays out, but I do really expect that 755.63 to be hit tomorrow. That wraps up this market recap. If you found the analysis helpful, please take a moment to like the video, leave a comment, subscribe to the channel, and share it with someone who would benefit from these daily market breakdowns. It really does help support the channel and allows me to continue creating free educational content for everybody. As always, have a trading plan before you enter a position, manage your risk, and remember, we're not trying to predict the market, we're trying to prepare for it. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.